was the assignment 3. We did the inside portion, the nested loop, which is always when you're doing a sentinel controlled loop, you always are going to have one loop or one part of the program that you can work with one record or one customer, whatever the problem is. And if you get it working, that's the majority of the problem. The outer loop is the part that just lets you determine how many times or how many customers or how many records you're going to read. So let's look at, I want to pull that problem up again so we can make sure we know what we're answering here. And let me turn the projector on again. I'll come up here. The assignment 3. Coming up. Yeah. Okay, so in just reading the problem again, you will include pseudocode and the HTML. And now, oh, this was the other thing. I know Catherine used the 2 fixed with the for loop and it worked. So we're going to, and you did too, James, okay? So we're going to look at that. I'm not really sure what was happening in class.
I watched your thing, and the only thing was the capital F. Like if you capitalize the F,
then it would have worked. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Out of the equation completely. Like instead of including it in the document.writeLine, price dot to fix. I just took it out of that equation. Just did price equals price dot to fix, and then the document write line.
And then it worked. Well, if you the way we'll pull up Catherine's here and see, and a couple of others. But it does work with the for loop, in other words. So my video showing that it didn't, that's what Chelsea said. I didn't have the, I thought we went back and put the capital F in there and it still wouldn't work, but I may have not fixed something else. So these were the 2 outputs that I went ahead and posted because these are what I'll test yours with to at least see if it works with at least 2 t-shirts. You should be able to do as many t-shirts as you want until as 0 is entered. And with my night class, my online class, before I got them the corrected wordings, a couple of them had already done it the way it first read, which the only difference was it only actually went through this loop 2 times. So the way the original wording was. Did you do it, Chelsea, before I changed the wording in class? Because you weren't.
I couldn't get my outer loop to work. I got the inner loop to work, but I just.
Until I changed the wording, or now you do? You still don't. Okay. All right. Well, let's look at that. So the inner loop we did in class last time, but I'm going to, let me just open. Oh, I don't even see where Text Wrangler is. I'll go ahead and do. I wanted to do it in Text Wrangler so that we could open the pseudocode. Okay, so this was the JavaScript, but let me open, I'm going to go to, I think I moved Catherine's over to an example file here. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. So, oh, it's not going to let me look at the pseudocode, though, without going to Word. I want to open the pseudocode so that those that still struggle a little bit with changing it from pseudocode to JavaScript will be able to see each line of pseudocode, how it works. And I know there's several of you that aren't having a problem, but we will go over this. Let's see where that go. There it is. Now I can get the pseudocode open. And this is real straightforward. Let me get the percentage. Let me get it a little bit bigger here so you can see it. I liked the simplicity of the way, and several of you did it other ways that worked too, but this was the pseudocode here was the inner loop that we did in class, which was to work for one t-shirt, and it said please enter the original price of the t-shirt you want to purchase or 0 to quit. And one thing that's good about putting this in your pseudocode, what you're going to say to the user is really important, because sometimes when the box comes up, you say enter a number. Well, they don't know what they're entering a number for. So if you put this in your pseudocode, then it helps you to remember when you do your JavaScript to go ahead and describe what you want the user to enter, okay? Because some of you had a tendency just to, when I would run it, it would just say enter a number, and I didn't know which problem, what it was. So if you do this in your pseudocode, this is actually ends up being part of your prompt, right, in JavaScript. So this would be, if we were looking at the JavaScript, this would be the prompt line that says, please enter the original price of a t-shirt, and then we go ahead and write out the original price. Now, the original price could be written out another time. That's the most logical way to do it, is to put the price there. So, and that's not in, let's see, you didn't put that in your pseudocode, right? Input price. And okay, that's for the outer loop. Okay, so then here's our for loop using the three parts of it like it is in JavaScript. So it says for counter equal to 1, and you see up here at the top, counter was initialized to 0, so she went ahead and said for counter equal to 1. Something that we can do in JavaScript that keeps you from having to initialize it at the beginning is you can say for var counter equal 1, you can actually initialize it and give it a value in that same statement in your for loop, if it's not too confusing to you, okay? The longer you program, the more shortcuts you hunt so that you don't have to code as much. But for counter equal to 1, because she had to set it to 1 in order for it to be used in her output, right? If it was at 0, it would say day 0 the first time through, okay? So count, as long as counter is less than or equal to 3, and the thing that's a little different with the for loop is we don't actually test or do this part until we execute the loop. But the way a for loop in JavaScript, Java, all those work is the translator knows that you ignore that. That's why there's no semicolon after it until you do this. Then you come back up before the end of the for loop and execute it. So then it says price equals price times discount, and she used a constant. Num discount equals 85%. Some people went ahead and probably did a subtraction if you weren't here in class, because Corey brought that up. It's less calculations if you go in and just multiply times the 85 instead of subtracting 15% each time. So price equals price times discount. Price equals price dot to fixed. And this was what James was also saying, to put it right before you do your output. And we were trying to put it in the document dot write line statement. So what is the to fixed? Where does that come from?
Keeps your decimals from going astronomical.
Okay, and do we write that code?
No.
No. It's in like a library where there are all kinds of functions that have already been coded for us and cataloged there. That's when C++ came out, and that was the first object-oriented language. Those languages started creating libraries of functions where you didn't have to recode those again. It had reusable code. And when I started coding in the late 70s, I mean, you didn't have any way to catalog that stuff. So when you wrote a certain routine in COBOL, you had to write it again every time you wrote another program, unless you stored it somewhere and copied and pasted it. But there was no place where other programmers all over catalog things. So that's what the beauty of object-oriented, one of the things, is that it has a lot of reusable code there, okay, for us. So if you know about this function, then you can use it and it will keep your decimals from going out. There may be sometimes when you do want the decimals carried out to 3 or 4, and there's another function called round too that you can use that will in certain mathematical calculations that you want to use. So output day counter is, and then the price, and then a break, and in the for loop. Then output, please enter. Okay, now this is part of her outer loop. So now that's the inner loop, this one here that we did in class on Tuesday. Now the outer loop, inner pseudocode, starts out, right here. She has to have a priming input, it's called, where you input price, and that's where you ask originally, but you don't ever go back to this line of code. Then while price is not equal to 0, then you do this loop. And at the end of this loop, it's going to say enter another original price or 0 to quit. That's really important that you tell the user what they have to enter to quit, right? Or they don't know that there's actually a sentinel value. Then the end while. So let's look at how this compares to the actual JavaScript. Open that up. Okay, let's see if our pseudocode matches our JavaScript. So here are all the variables that she initialized. Price equal to 0, discount equals 0.85. She did a line break, and she set her counter equal to 0. Then here's the priming, the one where her pseudocode line said input price. So it says price equals prompt. Please enter the original price of the t-shirt you want to purchase. And so you could actually say or 0 to quit, but that would mean if they entered 0, they would never even enter one t-shirt, right? So you might want to put that in there, but it's not necessary in this case. While price is not equal to 0, and that's how you say not equal in JavaScript, exclamation point equals. While price is not equal to 0, and then we open this while loop with a curly brace, and we close this while loop down here instead of end while with a closing curly brace. So this is the inner loop that most of you had uploaded, but some of you never got the while loop to work, right? That is the outer loop. And so once you get this working, at least you get that going. That tells me that you can at least do a one loop. But this is called the nested loop. And in chapter 6, we're going to learn that we can actually have a one line of code right here and make this in a separate function, and it will execute. Okay, that's what we're going to do. We're going to modularize, it's called. So here, this is just the for loop that she had before. Oh, and you did go ahead and put var counter equals 1. If you put var counter equals 1 in your for loop, then it's unnecessary to have this line, okay? So you can initialize and give it the value right here in the for loop line. So it says for var counter equal to 1, as long as counter is less than or equal to 3, do this. And then increment counter at the bottom of the for loop. As soon as the for loop as counter is 3, it's going to drop out of this for loop, which this takes the place of the end for in her pseudocode, right? So we have curly braces for the opening and the end for. So we do still have an end of our loop. It's just with a curly brace. Okay, at the end, so the only part that you should have had to add is your priming input. Well, actually, this input had to be there. It's just moved up above the while loop. because in the one we did on Tuesday, we still had to have this prompt, and we still had to have the document.writeLine, but in the middle here, in between those, that's where we've had to enter a while loop, right? Because right after we get our first input, we need to test and say, did they enter 0, or are they ready to process? So that's what she did here. While price is not equal to 0. So see, that was coded right in between these two lines that we did on Tuesday. Okay? Still see a few puzzled looks. Any questions? How did that happen? Okay, so here, no matter what we do in here, we have this while loop controlling how many times we're going to execute this inner loop. It doesn't matter what's inside. It doesn't have to be a nested loop. It's controlled by this sentinel value. The only other thing that's outside the for loop that we had to add was this. So we had to duplicate our priming input here, because if we leave this out, what's going to happen?
It won't run
Won't go back up, because it won't. Well, it'll go back up, but it won't have anything new, right? It won't have any new.
Won't leave the loop.
Won't leave the loop. Okay. So we could even try it by commenting that out and see what happens. And then okay, like, well, let's run it once the right way and see how it works. Okay, this one. Please enter the original price of the t-shirt you want to purchase or 0 to quit. Oh, that was on your line. Okay, I just didn't scroll over far enough. So we could actually, if I put 0 here, what's going to happen?
What? The loop.
It'll just stop, right? Let's see. I put 0. Thank you for shopping. We appreciate your business, but there's nothing done, right? Okay, does everybody understand why that did that? Okay, we entered 0 there. Okay, let's run it again. This time, let's put our 17.65 that we finally figured out with y'all's help what it should be. Okay, so the original price of the shirt. How'd you get those asterisks in there?
It's part of the text.
Inside or quotes, right? Anything that you put inside your quotes is going to print out to the screen, right? All right. So day 1 is $15. Day 2 is $12.75. Day 3 is $10.84. So we've got one t-shirt. Now, do we want to stop or do we want to go on? Well, according to your assignment, I wanted you to try one more original price, right? It was $12.50, because then you'll know if it ran correctly. If we do $12.50, there's another one, $10.63, $9.04, $7.68. So this program would work as many times as I want to enter a t-shirt value until what? Until I put in 0. Okay, so I'm going to put in 0, and there it ends. Okay? Let's see. So we had several problems at the end of chapter 4 that had these nested and outer loops, right? Some of them were pretty complicated. But the complicated part was actually the inside, the inside loop. That was usually the most difficult, because the outer loop is always the same. There's not anything to it. It has to have a priming, then your while, and then whatever you want to do while this is true. Then at the bottom, the only other thing you have to remember is to always ask for input again. And these, the things that it tells you to do on an outer loop, I think it tells us it shows us an example one. Let's see if I can find that. Limiting user reprompts. I think this is the one that they do. While, do this, then input month, end while. On 145, there's an example of a reprompting loop. let's see, that's for testing. Okay, let me see what this one is. Yeah, there's one on the real estate. Oh, I know the one that was the nested loop and the outer loop. The easiest one that we did the whole time was the quiz sheet. Remember the quiz sheet at the very beginning, the example that we did? And then there was using a loop control variable and the counter loop. So, does anybody have any questions about assignment 3? Yes.
I can't get mine to run.
You can't get yours to run.
Not
Oh,
anymore.
not anymore?
I put everything that you said, it won't run anymore.
Okay, where's yours? Let's see. Let's see if we can debug Chelsea's. Y'all help. We will.
I'll submit this one again.
Is it on the Google Drive?
I changed some stuff.
Okay.
On this one.
This is really some of the best ways. If you really, really want to be a programmer, you gotta love to troubleshoot. You gotta love to troubleshoot, okay? Because you never, very seldom do you write it correctly the very first time. Okay. This one, okay. Okay, let's see what we have. We have, and everybody's eyes that can see up here. If I have it, I hope I have it big enough. Let's look at it. Sometimes just another pair of eyes helps us. Just like, what do you see?
Discount on the for loop should be in all caps.
That's probably what happened.
Discount on the, right here, right?
Yes.
And, okay, so if we change this, oops, do you want to make it writable? Okay, D-I-S-C and our semicolon.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I still didn't get it. What is the deal here? Come on, caps lock. Let's see. Okay, somebody other than the ones that tell me it needs to be all caps, tell me why it needs to be all caps. Right, because up here in her declarations, she declared it as all caps because it's a constant, and that's just customary. It isn't required by law. It's just that we get into the habit of being able to look at our variables and say, okay, this is a variable, this is a constant because it's all caps. So then we have to be sure when we use it down here that it's all caps. Okay, let's see if that... Okay, you said yours wouldn't run, though. That wouldn't keep it from running. That would keep it from getting an answer. What? I don't want it to install a helper tool. Maybe it's going to make me. Oh, I know why. Probably because I'm trying to save it to her drive. Let me go to my drive. Saying, hey, that's not your folder. You can't do that. Okay. Nope, that wasn't it. It still wants me to do it. Okay, come on. Let's see if it'll let me run it. And I don't know if it took the change or not. Yours was A3CC. I thought I saved it there. I guess it didn't let me. Okay. Whenever I copy out to File, save it. Oh, I know what. Let me see if it'll let me save a copy. File, save a copy. Save out to the desktop. Save. Okay. There it is. Okay, so maybe it'll let me. Okay, the original price, 17.65, and it did it. Okay, 12.50. So I'm assuming that was your only problem. Is that yours running? That looks just like Catherine's. Did you say the same thing?
I put the asterisk because I like the way that it.
That it looks okay. Oh, and you put more asterisks. Okay, so that's yours. All right.
It separated it and it made my OCD feel better.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Do we have to have the original price?
It does say to print out the original price, and did I not say that in the? I thought I said that in the. Let's look. Okay. Robert, right? Robert asked, do you have to, but see in the output, it shows you, I want you to put the original price of the t-shirt is. That's what your output should look like, but I'm not gonna, let's see, up here.
Where's that assignment?
For example, original cost of t-shirts cost, design and output is the price of each item on each day 1 through 3. Okay, so in that statement, I didn't say it, but then I showed you what the example run should look like, but I won't count off for that because it is conflicting there. Robert was asking, do you have to show in your output the original price? Well, up here, I didn't specifically say the original price to print it out. So if you read it exact, then you would have not had this line. But this is showing the example runs what I wanted them to look like. So it was kind of conflicting.
Yeah, the Evernote assignment doesn't show the examples. Yeah, we don't see it.
Oh, I saved that. The Evernote, I thought I uploaded it back to Evernote to show you the examples. I did not.
Your password is in all caps, so it's probably not going to take it.
You are exactly right. Thank you. Still looks like it's, no, it went off. Thought I uploaded the new one that I did, but I understand that maybe I get started doing something and I get distracted and don't get it done. Let's see, I should have, okay, this is still the one that's in there. Huh, okay, so this one doesn't show, well, this is even the old one without the new wording, isn't it? Huh. Where did I upload it to then? I know I put it, I guess it's in my other class. I gave them the new one. What did I just do? Oh no, I think I deleted that whole. Found out one time how to get it back. I deleted our whole, oh, I don't want it to sync or I'm in trouble. If you've got my Evernote up and it has the whole schedule on there, please copy it in case I've lost it so I can paste it from you. Sign in. I did this one other time. It's P14. Why is it doing that? Okay. Oh my goodness, where did it put it? There it is. Let me make sure. I did that one. Oh, is that the whole thing? Hope. Ah, if I messed up that note, I am in big trouble. I can't even find where. It's not even showing all of it. Now I've got to save this note. Sorry. If I lose this note, that's a bad deal. Okay. Info, tools. I think that's just going to share the link. Okay, let me stop this because I'm done. Y'all